gotta have a little music. Everybody breathe. But it's okay. It's okay. You just have to breathe. How's everybody? Sometimes you just have to wait for the waterfall. Sometimes you just have to bring in your peace. In the midst of chaos, you have to breathe. You have to think. You find that waterfall. You find that peaceful walking through. So things are falling apart. They are. But our biggest problem is we fall apart with it. We lose. Because a lot of this is, I think it's weird, it's orchestrated to destabilize our thinking, guide us up, which they just phenomenal. They just do a wonderful job. Hopefully everybody's doing well this evening. Color of the text in the chat. Good morning, everybody. Wow. So what do we wake up to this morning? In the West, we've just woken up to all types of protests. Most significantly in Gaza and Palestine. You've got, can't hear me? Uh-oh. You can't hear me. Yes, sound is fuzzy. Why is my sound fuzzy? Can't hear you. Uh-oh. Hear me now? Have to do a Sprint commercial. Can you hear me now? Static. What's going to me? Big static. That's not cool. Big static? Need to turn. Oh, you hear a river. Y'all hear the river? Let me see. If I can fix that. All right. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Water sound. The static is constant. River sound. Can you hear me now? That might be it. Good. We are good. We're good. We're good. Are we good? Did y'all miss my intro? I messed up. Did I mess up? Oh, man, I had beautiful music. Y'all didn't hear the music? Oh, come on. Y'all didn't hear the music? Okay. You can hear me now. That's good. That's good. Yes, the river. Can you still hear the river? Because the river, you got to hear the river. But I don't want you to hear the river when I'm talking. It's better now. All right. Y'all didn't hear the music? Oh, man, come on. I had entry music. Dag nabbit. I'm not going to go back to it because I don't want to mess with it. I'm working on professionalizing a little bit. So anyway, this is what I was saying is we woke up to worldwide protests, right? I got in my car this morning and they were protesting in Gaza and they were protesting in the West Bank. And I think 8 people who approached the border, the fence. 8 people were already dead. I think a couple dozen were shot and injured. And by the time I got to where I needed to be, 45-minute drive, I think the count is up to either 14 or 15. Now, this is what Brother Rezeg told us about, right? This is what he told us about is that there are over 100 people who are willing to give up their lives to walk up to the fence and have their lives taken. And from what I saw, a lot of them were headshots, right? Israel isn't playing. The IDF is not playing. They have taken the land and they have no interest in giving it back. And if it's not clear to us by now that there's nothing religious in this, then you need to really pay attention, right? This is a robbery, and they are willing to murder anybody who approaches it. But I say that to say this is that in the West, what are we doing? I think someone just mentioned there's protests in New York, and there should be. This all has to do with the embassy opening up. And before people jump off into that train, oh, Trump did it. Trump didn't do it. Trump pushed the button, and he's complicit. But this was a Democrat-Republican decision. This was across the aisles, across the board. And then you have a whole European world or leadership that are going along with it, right? When people are willing to give up their lives just to get on the news, just so we around the world who our governments are doing this, just so we'll actually pay attention, man, you got to listen. You got to listen, right? So I think we need to talk about resistance. I think that, we all know the problem. Most of my friends, anyway, we know the problems. Most of the people in this community, you're well aware of it. Unfortunately, there aren't enough of us. And we need to really start to pull together and start to think about what we're going to do. And so the question I posed this morning is, even the people that are pretty gaslit, they understand the world is upside down. They understand that the world is sick right now, that the world, not that it's broken necessarily, but it was intentionally broke, right? This has to do with the whole colonize the entire world, draw borders, and force everybody to live inside of it and live in the economies inside it, based on those banks that are set up, and this idea that they can tag you and tell you that that is what you are and this is who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to support. And I think we all really need to start thinking about resisting. I'm not one to tell anybody what to do, how to do it, why to do it, though. Should be because you're a human being. It should be because you're starting to really see that none of this is religious. My goodness, I was watching RT Crosstalk this morning, and they were talking about the Lebanese election. And that was their topic as well, resistance. I posted, I'd recommend you guys take a peek at it. But how the Christian organizations got together with Hezbollah to win the election last week. And nobody's talking about it. It's not in the mainstream news anywhere in the West that I've seen. Why is that? Why don't they want you to know? Because they've hijacked your religion. And I'm mostly right at the moment, I'm talking to evangelicals and even atheists or anyone who actually thinks anything that is happening around the world right now is some ancient religious battle. It's not. This is all about money and greed and their willingness to murder people all over the world to get everything that they want. And so we talked about Brother Billy, was it 2 weeks ago when he protested the Bernie, when Bernie came to Philadelphia to rally for somebody, some politician. I don't know. I'm not into the politicians anymore. I really don't even know their names, and I really don't even care to know anymore. The only sides in any of this anymore are right and wrong. People who are resisting and people who aren't. Now, I'm not saying you got to go chain yourself to the back of a stage like Brother Billy. Billy ain't no joke. I don't know the brother so well, but, just from some of the things he does, he knows how to make a statement, and he made a powerful statement. And we need to think about when we do these things, what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. You don't actually have to go out and do anything. A form of resistance is not giving consent, right? A form of resistance is not putting your dollars in the game, right? A form of resistance might be backing away from a political party. A form of resistance might just be combating with truth people who are lying, right? When you're just at that dinner party and they're having that conversation about how Israel has a right to defend itself, and you kind of just chime in and say, Israel's not defending themselves. Israel is shooting children, right? Because from what I heard, a lot of the people who are shot, these are kids. These are kids between 16 and 20 who grew up in Gaza, who grew up in this nonsense. And they're just saying, hey, what do I have to live for? What kind of world is this? Do I really want to live in this world where my uncles and my parents and my cousins and my friends are being shot, groin shots, limb shots? You know, because that was one of the strategies of the IDF is to do groin shots, to humiliate people, to shoot them in their limbs, and to prevent wheelchairs from actually getting in. This was a strategy. This is what they're doing intentionally to children. So maybe your form of resistance is no longer allowing your friends to say those things. You know, one of the most interesting things about all of this, and this is why I like to listen to RT. I think they still promote a lot of the truth that comes out when you hear that the Christians are on the side of Hezbollah, when you hear that Jews are standing up against Zionism. You know, when you start to see that none of this is fitting in the narratives and what they actually lied it all up to be. So that's my question to people this morning. Is what are you resisting and why? I'm gonna warn you though. I'm put my little warning out there. Just don't say if you're still resisting Trump or the Republicans or the Democrats or I'm just gonna warn you. You're probably not gonna get the best responses. I think most of my friends are really adultish, right? And they won't hit you too hard. But we have bigger problems. We got bigger problems. You know, what are you resisting? Some of you might respond, well, I'm resisting police brutality. Okay. Do you know the issues of police brutality? Do you know how it came about? Do you know why? Just yesterday, actually, I got a text. And I didn't read it. Someone sent me a Facebook link of a black officer killing a black rider of an ATV because he was riding the ATV late at night in a neighborhood. Do you know why the police did that, right? Because some people are still in this world where they think police brutality is about racism. They still do. They still think slavery was about racism. Do you know the issues? Do you know who wrote the laws? Do you know who normalized the idea of sending men with guns to hand out tickets? Do you know the idea? Who's building up the police state, right? If you want black lives to matter or white lives to matter, and that's what you want to resist, do you know the problems? Do you know where it came from? Do you know who's writing the laws? Do you know who does not want to change the laws? So they get you divided up on the racial stuff. So what are you protesting? Are you protesting geoengineering and the spraying of chemicals all over people and the modification of the weather by a species that's not smart enough to desalinize water barely? You know, are we effectively resisting anything? Are you resisting greed, right? Are you resisting the fact that we have a war on the poor? And we've had a war on the poor for a very long time, all over this planet. Like we were getting into a discussion the other day, and we were talking about the Dark Ages. I posed the question, did the Dark Ages end, or did we just get better at covering it up? Are we just much better at legalizing and normalizing all the things that we did in the Dark Ages? Are we just now, back then they protested when people were killed and raped and land was stolen, and today they just write a law and they normalize it and we go along with it. You know, are you protesting the big corporations and the idea of big greed taking over the world? And how are you doing that? Are you doing that by going to work every day? Are you doing that by paying your taxes? How are you doing that? Do you care? Are you resisting at all? Does anyone feel that the world is okay? That we shouldn't be doing anything, that we shouldn't be listening? You know, in Indonesia, I think was it yesterday or this weekend, a family of 4 or 5 blew themselves up on motorbikes. Did you see that? They put bombs on themselves and they rode their motorcycles. I think it was up to, it looked like it was some sort of a checkpoint, but I think it had something to do with churches, and they blew themselves up. And I think the youngest member of the family might have been 8. Somebody can post a link if you want it. Why would somebody do that? I'm not speaking violent resistance. Let's be clear though. I'm talking about intellectual, peaceful resistance. The reason we're all looking at Palestine right now in Gaza is because they didn't let this get them. They didn't let this make them so angry that they resorted to violence. It's because they're peacefully resisting. And because they are peacefully resisting, we as a world can see Israel's not defending itself. The IDF, they're not under any real threat. You know, watching some of the videos, Brother Rezeg was just, he was just live a minute ago. I'm going to look at some of the comments, but this is the question I'm asking this morning. What should we be resisting and how? Some of my friends talk about the United States corporation, that we need to withdraw our consent. I think we really need to start talking and actually doing these solutions. You know, if big corporations are the problem and you want to resist slave labor and you don't like slavery, do you have the new iPhone? Are you buying a new car? Is anything wrong with your old car? When something breaks, do you fix it? Do you actually know the problems? Are we really listening? Or are we just turning on the television and just looking and just saying how sad it is that the people are being shot in Palestine, but we continue going on? You know, for me, I'm definitely a proponent of you need to resist your political party in the West. You need to resist your government. You need to, if you're not in America, because in America, it's very obvious that people are being divided because both parties don't want anything to change. They don't want white lives to matter. They don't want black lives to matter. They do not want to give up their support of Israel. They do not want to change anything. They're completely against everything that you want them to do because this was designed. This was set up this way intentionally because they make a lot of money doing it. And I'm not saying the political parties are evil. I'm not saying the people are evil. I'm just saying, at what point do you listen to the 14-year-old that's sitting in prison in Israel? At what point do you listen to the kids that are being shot in the crotches? At what point do you listen to the dead kid who was shot off the ATV? Like, I was thinking about something else, because I'm a religious guy to a degree. I don't know if I'm religious. I'm more of a spiritual guy, but I do believe there's something more. I don't believe any of us know really what it is, but I wonder, are these kids who have more moral and ethical fortitude to do the things that most of us wouldn't do, to walk up to a gate and allow a sniper to take a headshot or a groin shot? Are these kids being sent to us to tell us something? Are these kids some sort of message that whatever controls all of this, whether you call it God or the universe or whatever, collective spirituality, are these kids being sent here to teach us that our world is wrong? Our world is going the wrong way? Is it being done to somehow psychologically give us the ability to go back to evolving where you know, I had an interview with Brother Rezeg this weekend, and one of the things that really shifted my thinking on what's happening in the Middle East, and especially in Israel, was watching the tank turrets pointed at little kids. I think the imagery does something to us. I think the fact that the kids in Gaza who don't have, how they have power 4 hours a day and they shut it off because they just want to inflict pain on them, they want to inflict misery. I think they realize that when their parents go to get shot at the gates, when their parents protest and they get murdered, the adults around the world are kind of just like, okay, that's sad, but, you know, Israel's defending themselves, and they just kind of look the other way. But when you see a 16-year-old, when you see Tamimi, how old was Tamimi? Was she 13 or 14 when she slapped the IDF officer? You know, I think they realize that their parents can't change anything. And so now we got kids sacrificing their lives to send a message to us. You might think, you know, well, that's crazy. They'd strap a bomb to their chest and they'd go blow themselves up. And to a degree, it is crazy. But it's a crazed world, right? If you grew up in some of the environments these kids do, there's a point of desperation that comes on where it's just not even worth living anymore. It's not worth it. You're willing to give up your life just to get someone to pay attention. How long are we going to let people go to extremities to get our attention in the West? How long are we going to let this happen? I know TV is interesting. There are a lot of good shows on TV, y'all. A lot of good programs. Dang it, I was watching Fear the Walking Dead last night. I fell asleep on it, but that's another story. But how long are we going to go before we actually start paying attention? How long are we going to go before we actually start making some of this content go viral? How long are we going to go before we start doing some sort of resistance and solidarity with human beings all over this planet? How long are we going to go before we realize that none of this has anything to do with any sort of sectarian infighting or religion? It's about dominating a world. One of the good things they were talking about also, I was listening to, because Brother Ray McGovern was on that Crosstalk interview I was telling you about this morning. I posted on my thread. And he made a point. He said, we seem to think that we're going into Iran and we're starting this war with Iran because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to start a war with Iran. And how many human beings live in Iran? Like 80 million. We're trying to start a war with Iran because somebody already bought the war. Somebody already paid for the war. And so the politicians of both parties are pushing this to happen. And they'll get it any way that they need it to happen. And Ray McGovern, who's ex-CIA whistleblower, he was the one who protested Bloody Gina, whatever, McBlood, whatever her name is, Bloody Gina, they're going to put in charge of the CIA. That's going to make the world a heck of a lot better. But he was the one who protested. And his point was, he said, we seem to think Iran is alone. Iran is not alone. He said, going into Iran, said, yeah, there's only a one-letter difference. There's an N or a Q. There's only one letter difference in the end of the country's name. They're not alone. First of all, the whole world was paying attention when we went into Iraq. The whole world watched when we were wrong. The whole world watched when we lied. The whole world watched when no one paid any degree of war crime. No one showed any degree of sorrow. No one apologized. In fact, the world watched when we laughed. What did Bush do? He said, ha, 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 ha. We'll find the weapons. We'll eventually find the weapons of mass destruction. It was funny. The world watched when we killed Gaddafi. Clinton laughed, like her little psychopathic laugh. Ha, 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 ha. We came, we saw. He died. Crazy psychopath. The world watched when half of the voting population of the United States voted for her. Almost half. Iran is not alone. And this was his point. He said Iran got Russia behind them. You might say, oh, we can take Iran. Take Russia too? Okay. Who else you going to take in there? Who else in Europe do we not know has some sort of allyship that's paying attention that America has really lost its way, that the American people actually aren't in control of its government? China and Russia have that defense pact. So if Russia gets pulled in, China gets, so we're going to take on China too. So we're going to take, let's start to do the math here. Venezuela's with them, right? Venezuela's in the impact. I don't know. Do they got weapons? They might have some, I don't know if they got guns and tanks. They might have monkeys and something else. But I'm painting a picture here like he's ex-CIA. And we can start debating and say, well, he's not true. He doesn't know what he's saying because the United States, proud to be an American. We got weapons we don't know about. Yeah, we do. I know. We got nasty stuff. So do they. And what I like to do is I like to listen to people who are in professional places to make these sort of statements. If we have an ex-CIA person telling us that this is not going to be fun, this is not going to be an easy fight, this is not going to be Iraq, are you really ready to see 80 million people, if not stay in the country and die, fight back, fight with Russia and China and any other countries that get pulled in to try to stop America because the American population is so asleep that we're okay with whoever runs our government staying in control because we want to get back at the other side because we got some sort of ego vendetta with the Democrats or the Republicans or Trump or Obama? Are we really going to sit back and watch all these American soldiers die, our brothers and our sisters, our kids, our nephews, our nieces? Perhaps bringing a draft back in? Are we going to sit back and watch our Russian friends die? Are we going to sit back and watch? Are we going to let this happen? This is my question for this morning. are we going to resist? What are we going to resist, and how are we going to resist? Doesn't need to be the way. I have my plans. I have my thoughts. You know, one of the things that I like from coming from my hippie background is I don't agree with consumerism. I understand that these corporations tend to be the funding behind a lot of these politicians. I pretty much don't buy anything. I don't buy anything. Almost, I can go a whole week and never even go to a store. When I go to a store, I'll go to a local store. I'll try to make sure I put my money in a local economy. I'll try to fix things. I try to keep my money away from these banks as hard as I can. I try to keep it away from these corporations as hard as I can. Personally, I left corporate America. I made a whole lot of money in corporate America, and life is not easy without corporate America. I can tell you that, you know, but I'm not here to play. I get that the world is going in a direction that it will get to a point where we can't pull it back. What are we going to do to resist? Are we going to continue to critique people like Brother Billy, who chains himself to the back of a stage while Bernie is talking, while Bernie is trying to keep the political process going? Get on the side, everybody, let's vote. You know, and Brother Billy steps in and say, this is not time for voting. This is not time for more bipartisan tribalism. We are walking our country, which completely is not under our control, into some of the most evil times possible. You know what they bet on? You know what they bet on? They tend to, the psychopaths that run all of this, these psychopathic leaders, they always bet on when the conflict starts that we're going to fall in line, that we're going to get on the side, that we're going to see American bodies coming home, our soldiers and our troops, and we're going to say, we got to get behind the flag. Can't let that happen. I was thinking about the Pledge of Allegiance this weekend. What parts of the pledge actually apply anymore? What parts are actually true? In America, as children, you're raised to put your hand over your heart and pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States. What parts of that are true anymore? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, which is no longer in existence, one nation that ain't anywhere near close to God or anything any God has ever talked about, as they're murdering, as they're having a ceremony in Jerusalem right now, smiling and drinking crumpets and teas and silly dumbness while children are walking up to the fences in Palestine. Is this really where we want to go? Are we really going to continue to just watch The Walking Dead and watch Dancing with the Stars? And are we going to actually look at what's happening around the world? Are we going to actually pull? Because this is the other thing I want to really, really paint a very clear picture to everybody. World War III is not going to be fought on Instagram. And it may not even be a World War III. It might just be a conflict in Iran. It's not going to stay there. Because, you know, when China gets pulled in, they got land that they got in mind. American military is already stretched. So, you know, they're going to act up in the South China Sea. Then, you know, they're going to start taking those nations that they want to take down there. So we're going to fight them there, too. And we're going to keep fighting in Africa. And we're going to fight in the Middle East. And we're going to fight in Iran. We're going to keep fighting in Syria. And this you don't think we're already broken. We're about to collapse now. And this is what we're about to do. This war isn't going to be fought just in those zones. This is a war that will be fought on American soil. And I don't think, not in terms of a hot conflict, but do you like your power? Do you like electricity? Do you like your water? Do you think you're going to watch this war on Instagram? It's not going to happen. When this conflict really gets going around the world, with the first thing, all of these nations, which could end up being a dozen or more nations that come against us, they're going to shut your power off. You know, Americans like their power. You know, Americans need their power. You understand that even if Russia and China and Iran and all these countries that get into that fight, even if they actually think that they can win, they all know one thing. They all know that the American power grid is the power behind the American spirit. They know that the war will start to get us to rally behind the flag. They know if we don't have power. Remember in Iraq when they bombed the infrastructure? When people don't have power, they'll turn on their government real soon. Don't start a war and force Americans to choose because they don't have food, because the trucks aren't running and the grocery stores don't have food, right? What is it? They say that we have, if they take out 2 substations, that America will be out of power for 10 years. There'll be roaming blackouts. And there's some 50 of those. What the war, understand what war is, right? See, we've been sleeping way too long. We haven't been doing any sort of resistance. We've been playing this Democrat-Republican game for a long time. And at a certain point in time, it's gonna have to hurt us. You know how people say, the Republicans and the Democrats, they play good cop, bad cop. You know, in good cop, bad cop, both of the cops are bad. Yeah, you know what that really actually is saying. Good cop, bad cop. Neither cop is bad. Both of the cops are bad. One is just pretending to be good, and they'll flip-flop it, but they're both bad. All right, let me look at some of the comments. This is what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about resistance, and I think that we have to get back to a place where we actually start to stand up for each other. The only people who can pull this back as this world starts to fall apart is the West. And Europe is doing it. Europe is standing up against their government. Americans are just gaslit happy, going right along. Like this is going to happen. Like the retirement money you're putting away is actually going to be there if this all falls apart. Lisa said, World War III began on 9/11. War, pillage, dismantling your rights. You know what? I agree with you. I think World War III, Lisa, that's when they started a war against the American people. That is when the Democrats and the Republicans started a war against the American people. And I'm not necessarily hitting the politicians, because I think a lot of the politicians are gaslit too, and they don't really see what's happening. They actually think that they can bring about change, and they constantly wonder why they can't change anything. Like Ron Paul gets to a point where he just says, I got to get out of here. Nobody is listening. They're all taking money and they don't care. I'm completely ineffective. I think they let a few politicians in who are nice people who think they can change things within. Would you send a really sweet, nice person in the mafia to change the mafia? Do you think you can reform the mafia with nice people who sweet politicians? Would you take a Bernie Sanders, you know, because some of y'all think he's still sweet, that's okay. I don't want to trigger any of your identity politics. If we wanted to fix the mafia and take them down, would we send Bernie Sanders in to fix them from within? Do you really still think that the Democrats and the Republicans are fixable from within? Let me see. The number of dead in Palestine is up to 41. Oh my God. Good morning, Brother Albert. 41. While they're having tea and crumpets. While they're having tea and crumpets, celebrating the Democrats and the Republicans making Jerusalem the capital. And of course, Trump isn't over there. You know why? But all right, let me go back to some of the comments. It's going to be a crazy week. We're going into it. Sister Nikki said, I'm open to the option. Thanks for suggesting. It will take all of us to work out the details. Yeah, and Nikki and I, you know what? I have things that I do that I'm backing out of, but we all have to do something. But we also got to not try to qualify each other, right? Because some people are still trapped in these jobs. Some people are still locked into some of this. You know, everybody's at a different level of understanding of what they're doing. I grow a lot of my food. I don't buy a lot of the stuff that, you know, Monsanto benefits from the chemical treatments and the chemical farmers and all that stuff. But we all got to kind of pick and choose our forms of resistance. Some of us don't work on Mondays and we can go to protest. Some of us, you know, can do different things. We work overnight. So everyone has to pick and choose. But then also we can't fall into the tribalism, division, and the arrogant positions of I'm doing more than you and I'm doing good. Everybody's got to start to make those choices to start backing this thing down. Yes, Lisa, I love it. We need to make pledges a pledge to resistance, you know, and a pledge away from indoctrination, and start to let the indoctrination go. start to shed the labels that they put on us to keep us infighting. Let me see. Bless you for using your voice to change. Thank you, Jennifer. But I don't, I appreciate that, but I'm just doing my part. Like I'm not doing anything great. People who speak, we do it because we're human beings. We do it because it's what we're supposed to do. It's the bare minimum. The bare minimum anyone can do is actually speak and say, stop killing people. And that's all we're saying. That is all we're saying. Some commentators are more political than others, and I don't have a great political stance. I've tried to be political when I was young, and I realized that both parties were playing me, and I walked away from it. So I don't really have all of that. But I think most are all at this point are saying the same thing. Stop killing people and stop getting behind those who are killing people. We need to breathe. As a world, we need to stop and breathe and think about, do we really want our children to grow up in a post-World War III environment? Ellen said Billy Taylor is a brave hero. He is, Ellen, and Billy has that thing. He has that ability. So you know what? I don't care about getting arrested. I don't care what people think. I don't care. I'm real, and he does a real thing. And not everybody has that. So you don't actually have to be Billy Taylor's, but you know what you can do sometimes is you can hand Billy Taylor the microphone, right? You can go down and support the Billy Taylors who are actually going to go do something. You can bring them lunch. Some of us, we can go to where they're being arrested. We can film it. We can do different things, but we definitely got to be in support. Like everybody's a warrior. Let's get that clear. Everybody is a warrior, but we war in different peaceful ways, right? Most of us probably need to be support systems. Some of us are microphones. Some of us have that, you know what? I'm going to go do this because this is how I feel compelled. I was listening to, if you listen to Ray McGovern talk about it, it doesn't sound like he actually went into the hearings to protest. He went into the hearing and he felt inspired. He felt inspired. Before they opened up, they said, I realize some of you are going to try to make a point. And if you're going to make a point, make it quick and then leave and we'll get on with it. And so Ray was like, oh, damn, okay, we can make points. I'm going to make my point then. Right. And he chimed right in. He did his thing. Bloody Gina, Bloody Gina. And they tackled this human patriot, 70-year-old human patriot to the ground and forcefully arrested him and dragged him out. Right. So I think when you feel that calling, whatever that is, I'm a spiritual guy. I think all of this stuff works together the way it's supposed to. And when you're in the right place at the right time, you just feel something tugging on you and you just do it. And he did it. And that's what we have to do. But we got to be in support of those people. We have to cheer them on. After Billy did what he did, sister, they came after him. They came after him. I saw it on the threads. Somebody even said on the YouTube video, I don't know if it's gone back up yet. I understand it was taken down. Said, oh my gosh, somebody did that to Bernie. He could have had a gun. Could have had a gun? Really? Like, process this for a minute. Process this for a minute. This man stands up behind Bernie to protest fraud, to protest what the DNC actually did and why they did it, right? I didn't know the full story, and I kind of listened to he did a live stream with I forgot the other brother's name the other day, and I posted it. And they were kind of explaining that people believed in Bernie so much that they actually put their houses up. They refinanced. People lost their houses. They lost their marriages. They donated all they had in the bank. There are people who have been financially broken completely because they believed in the message and they thought that this would help the world. That's called love. That's called passion. And the questions we have for Billy is, oh, Bernie needs more security because he could have had a gun? Because he's standing up against the corruption to try to put Hillary Clinton, a warmonger, in who's got millions of guns all over this world through the Clinton Foundation, funneling weapons, my God, uranium. And we're saying we need more protection for the people who are in these parties who are starting the wars with guns. No, we don't need that. And so maybe you as a warrior, maybe that's what you can do. You work 7 days out the week. You can't go to a protest. You can't film anything. You can't do anything. Maybe you're just going into comment threads and you're giving the opposing view. Say, this man did what he did out of love. This man did what he did because he was hurt and he was broken. And not only that, but what he was doing is smart. He's chastising a politician, which is what we have to do. If you want politicians to ever speak for you, you have to cheer for them when they are right, and you have to chastise them when they're wrong. Otherwise, you get what you have today. You got people who are cheering for politicians because they're black, because they're white, because they're Christian, because they look a certain way, because they talk smart, they sound charismatic. And once they got you, once they know that you won't chastise them, then Wall Street can get them to do anything they want to do. And so, of course, the first black president restarted slavery coming through Libya. It's okay. The first black president sent weapons and AFRICOM into Africa. Why? Because if a white president did that, y'all would be upset. But it's okay. Slavery is good when it's a black man. It's good. I know somebody's getting upset with me. But we have to speak about things honestly and truthfully and let the chips fall where they may. You know, we're all being played. None of us know everything. None of us. We're all being played, and we're being played against each other. And we got to stop blaming each other and start pushing that blame a lot higher than what we have been, because everything we've done in America has been ineffective from the beginning. Withholding money is the best resistance. Yes, Renee, and I'm with you. We're right on that page. It's money that they buy the politicians. It's money that makes this thing work. It's money, I think, which is definitely my standpoint. You can't have my money. I work too hard for my money, and I believe in what I'm doing. I am a warrior. I am a spiritual creature, and I am here. And if it's my place to go, then that's my place, right? I understand the spirit of these children who are walking into sniper fire in Gaza. I don't feel their pain. I try to see it, but I wasn't born there. I was born with American West privilege, right? I was born in a safe place. I wasn't born going to see my friends in the hospital who are having their limbs shot off by the American tax dollar and the West funding the worst monsters that probably live on this planet right now, the Zionist political government that lives in Israel. We got to start speaking truthful things. But we got to speak up. We got to stop letting people who don't know have microphones. You got to stop reading your newspaper. You got to stop watching CNN and Fox and MSNBC and stop sharing that crap. You know, they make money on the advertisement. They make money on the commercials. Stop watching that and start sharing the alternative media. That was one of the cheers that Ray McGovern had for alternative media. Alternative media picked up what he did, and he was highly appreciative. Like, this is where we got to go. We got to go into a time of resistance. Let me see. What else do we have in comments? So the death count is climbing. The journalist that was there in Gaza was talking about how every 10 minutes, somebody was being shot, constant sniper fire. You could see the crowd running, and they're all just standing around there peacefully. Every 10 minutes, somebody's getting shot. They're rushing them out. Another kid's getting shot. Another kid's getting shot. Another kid's getting shot. Maybe you need to watch it. Maybe I just feel this way because I watch it. And I actually see the crowd, the look in their face and the look in their eyes. Maybe you need to see that they look just like you. Some of them have brown skin. Some of them have blue eyes. Some of them have blonde hair. None of this is racism necessarily. None of it is religious. It's just money. So let me keep going and see what you guys are saying. Good morning, Norma. The people who want control are insane. Yes, Norma, and I think that's the basis foundation of all of this. It's just there are people who want to control other people. It's that colonizer mindset to take away someone else's determination, self-determination, to take their land or their resources. That's what it's always been about. I retweeted by Julian Assange, mother, yesterday. Tweet went viral soon after I was threatened. Thank you, Ellen. And you're a warrior. You are a warrior. That is what we have to do. We're just coming out of Mother's Day. Mothers have always been our warriors. I think about the lions and the lioness. That's what I was thinking about, Sister Ellen. I was thinking of how the lionesses got together, and they get together in the tribes, and you aren't coming anywhere near their cubs. You can try. The men, they're fat. The big lion, he'll go walk around, do something else. But the women, they get together because they're warriors. You try to touch one of their cubs. Doesn't matter who you are. You could be a jackal. You could be another rogue lion. You could be a male lion. You could be a tiger. You could be whoever you want. That mother lioness isn't going to let you hurt one of her cubs. We need to go back to having the power of a lioness, the unity of a lioness, when they all get together and protect the cubs. Our cubs are in Gaza right now. Our cubs are all over in Africa. Our cubs are in the Middle East. We got cubs in Malaysia. We got cubs everywhere, and we got to start acting like warriors. And thank you, Ellen. Like, that's what you got to do. You have to post it. You have to speak up to people like the Joe Rogans, the what is his name? Alex Joneses, and the people who have bigger voices, who can actually stop some of the censorship that's happening. The censorship happens because people with big voices don't have any sort of union. No matter where the people with the biggest voices in alternative media go, they'll be followed. They can build platforms. Like, do you actually think, I know outside of what you think about Alex Jones or Joe Rogan or Eva Bartlett or any of these people, wherever they go, people will follow to listen because it's their voices why they listen. It's not the platforms. And so maybe an attack on censoring is starting to pull them into the conversation that, hey, if there is a mass exodus from a platform for some censoring that happens, maybe that's how we combat it. Maybe we push them to other new platforms like the Viewable and platforms that are preaching allegiance to free speech. You get 2 or 3 of some of the biggest talking head commentators to actually shift and go to a new platform, you'll make $1 billion company out of that. But I'm not saying do that. I don't know. That's a great idea. But the point is, we have to start to resist, and we got to start to talking resistance. We need a union. That's what we need. We need a human being union. We need a union to bring the lionesses together around the world to speak up and to fight for those cubs, to be true, to be warriors for them. So maybe it is just sharing a post. You never know what's going to go viral. Good morning, Brother Gown. Sad part is it won't make most news. No, Gown, it won't. It won't. Word of mouth is the only way that this is going to work, right? Social media, they're going to do what they got to do. They have to protect their platform from the CIA or whoever's forcing them to do what they're doing. But we need to speak to other people. Someone said Alex Jones is a Zionist. I don't know what he is. All I know is Alex on occasion says something that's true, right? And in terms of Zionism, that's just a long, deep discussion, right? Like, the point is he doesn't like censorship, right? So I can hate him or just not want to deal with him because he's a Zionist, or because he wants to have free speech and he believes certain things in one area. Maybe still it would be effective for him to be a part of some sort of union to bring back free speech and to stop censoring online, right? We have to be methodical, folks. This is not checkers. This is not checkers anymore. This is chess. There is a bigger enemy, right? And if we know Zionism is what it is, and if he is or somebody else is, wouldn't it be more powerful to bring them into the fold with facts? Wouldn't it be more powerful to see a discussion and find out if he is a true Zionist or if he is just co-opted by lies, if he believes certain things, or if he's saying certain things because of his audience? And if there were an honest debate between him and someone else where it really was obvious what they're doing and that they are just shooting children, it would shift his audience. Maybe it would shift him. We have to stop fighting with each other, right? Like, we gotta stop fighting. They're coming after our cubs, right? And how they win is they keep us fighting each other. They keep us in these places of, this person is controlled opposition. Don't listen to them. Don't follow them. No, listen to them, follow them, and post on their thread truthful things, because that person may not listen, but somebody else might be who is a follower of them, right? The truth doesn't need great debaters, right? Truth only needs to be heard, and the people who are true will follow that. This is the time to go and approach those people who you feel are extreme on the other side. Some of them are extreme because they're psychopaths, but some are extreme because they actually just don't know. You know, Imagine. So I don't want to talk about Alex Jones. My point is that if his audience starts to lean because they realize that he's in the wrong spot, he's going to start to lean too. We gotta grow up. We gotta, and all of us, not and me too. I grow up every day. I'm trying to grow up more and more, and I'm trying to listen to people who are a lot smarter than I on these things. We got to get good at our game. We got to get good at the chess because they play chess against us. The people who run all of this, they are phenomenal at chess, and they play us all over the board. I think we start to get as smart as they are. Lisa said, I'm apolitical 100%. Yes, Lisa, because none of this is politics anymore. When you're shooting children who are walking up to a fence and you're taking sniper shots and you're hitting them in the cranium, in the head, it's nothing political about that. That's called mass murder. That's what that's called. You know what I mean? Cynthia McKinney was one of those people. Yes, Shuristan and Cynthia McKinney, she had to flee because we wouldn't protect her. So she had to run. She said too much of the truth. She understood that she needed to speak to everybody, and she started to speaking to everybody, and she started to say the truth, and they ran her out of the country. Let me see. Gerard, like when once in a while someone disagrees with him. So today I disagree. I don't have a drop of Jewish blood in me, but I stand with my Israeli friends to the left in the U.S. Or the left in the U.S. is brainwashed when it comes to the Palestine issue. Well, Ivana, I didn't have a position until I started seeing them murdering children. And I'm okay with the disagreement. I mean, this is how you have a dialogue. You disagree with people and you talk. To me, I have one stance. I'm a parent. I'm a dad, right? I have nieces. I love little kids. Little kids are the funniest thing on the planet. They're beautiful. They are what's best in us. If you can kill them indiscriminately, I really don't care about your politics. And right now, the IDF is murdering children. To me, there's not sides in that. There's not sides in that. The only thing I would ask you to do is to look a little deeper into it. Make friends with people who live in Gaza right now. Brother Rezeg is one of them. And start to look at issues from both sides. You have people with rocks and sticks, and you have other people with tanks and high-powered rifles. And they're murdering children. That's where, to me, it's not politics anymore. It's not sides, right? Is the left crazy? Hell yeah, they are crazy. Ivana, you and I agree on that. The left crazy is all hell. Dumb, stupid, blind, crippled, and crazy. Half the time. Other half the time, they're right. But the right's dumb, stupid, crippled, blind, and crazy too. But the other half of the time, they're right. So we really have to let go of the tribalism. When kids are being shot, when kids are being murdered, there's no sides in that. It's life or death. Palestinians, they're not murdering anybody in Israel. You know who I stand with? I stand with don't murder children. I stand with my Israeli friends who want peace. I stand with my Palestinian friends who want peace. I don't stand with the Israelis and the Palestinians who want violence. That's where I stand. I don't think there's a side in that. I think that's just empathy. That's what it is. I don't think there's any politics in this. Let me see. I cried when I saw all the hardware from the USA turn up in Germany and go through Poland to ensconce itself on Russian border. I knew that was FUBAR. Yeah, Joanne, because that's like the intent. They're surrounding Russia and China. Whoever runs the United States, whoever bought its military, they want to keep Russia and China in check because they know those are probably the only two powers who actually could resist against whoever owns the American military. I don't speak in terms of politics because I don't think it's politics. I think there are just billionaire guilds that bought America. And there are probably billionaire guilds that oppose those billionaires that are either bought or want to buy Russia and China. And they're opposing each other. And they're murdering 7 billion people in the process because they can divide up those 7 billion people. That's why we have to stop having these political, tribal, left-right discussions, because they're both evil. They are both satanic, and they both murder children. That's what they're okay with. The left and the right are completely okay with that. They're completely okay with murdering children for resources. And you just really got to tap into your heart, people, and think about, do you really want to be okay with that? I don't. That's why, again, I'm politic agnostic. I really don't care. As long as you leave people alone, don't murder them, you can go off in your little silly rooms and debate things that aren't about murdering people all you want. The resistance is about taking back your power and not giving money to the war machine. Yes, Shuristan, and that I think is a very powerful position. Ivanka enjoys the slaughter of Palestinian women and children on their land. Well, Sharon, I don't know if that to be true. The only thing I try to do is to say truthful things. What's happening right now. And then we let people make up their own minds and decisions. Like, there were times I was completely gaslit. There are times that, it's not even being gaslit, just the information, the circles I ran in, the people I was around the most, they stood here or they stood in a certain place. And I kind of believed what my circles taught and believed because, there was a great talk, a good example. I forgot the brother's name. There was a good talk I was listening to the other day. It was about, are we getting smarter? And it was talking about how they have to modify the IQ test so that because every generation that we're getting smarter and smarter and smarter. We're not acting smarter, but we're getting smarter. And one of the good topics, it was a talk, brother's name was Steven Pinker. It's a Joe Rogan talk. I'll post it on this when I'm done. It's a great little discussion. But he kind of explained how we evolve as a collective, right? We're getting smarter individually, but that smart really isn't applied until we act as a collective. And so we got to be a collective. And that's why we have to keep things as best as possible, not offend people, right? Because the greater offense, people being murdered, children, has to stop. And the only way that stops is we stop being offensive to each other and we just talk and we let people form their own opinions, but we just put the facts out there. So every time I see, someone go live in Gaza, I just post it so people can see it and hopefully they can make a good decision about that. Hopefully they can see that making Jerusalem the capital is about destabilizing the region. It's about trying to get people on certain sides of this debate, people who don't read their religious texts, people who actually don't read their Bibles and understand that thou's not supposed to murder and thou isn't supposed to steal. And the Zionists who control Israel right now are murdering and stealing. They use your religion to get you to turn on your God. That's really what's happening. And that's just the ugly truth of it. They co-opted your religion like Westboro Baptist Church or Al-Qaeda. And they've got you to follow along with a cultish satanic group that don't give a damn about your book, your Quran, your Gita, your Bible, Old Testament, whatever they don't care about that. What they care is that you're not versed in it enough to understand that the golden rule is you don't kill children. You don't ever kill God's children. That's the basis, So anyway, let me keep going. Let me see. Well, all right. So I see some things. I'm not going to go there, Sister Lisa. I'm leave that. What's Jennifer got to say? A lot can be learned from Gandhi's speeches. Your feeds change the vibration. Yes, your energy changes. I think Gandhi had amazingly wonderful things to say. A lot of people are highly critical of Gandhi right now, which, again, we can take the wisdom that people have and we can run with it because it's handed down and it's true. or we can turn on them because they're human beings and they did really dumb things in life also, right? Like the kids who blew themselves up on the motorcycles in Indonesia, the family. You know, we can just say they're psychopaths and they're crazy. Or we can say they were born in a crazy environment and they did something really crazy, but they had a lot of pain. And let me take the pain and let me see if we can resolve this before more families blow themselves up on motorcycles, right? Like, I think sometimes we take away the negative, but we really need to look at the bigger picture. And I think a lot of this is about the bigger picture. Someone clarified, Ray McGovern is 79. Thank you, Joanne. And he's 79. Why would the Capitol Police tackle this man to the ground? He wasn't resisting. He was walking, right? Is this how we're trained to behave? Did your grandparents or your parents teach you to respect your elders or to tackle them to the ground? It's because they're constantly making the police into dragoons. You can say the Capitol Police are horrible, but it's not the Capitol Police. They didn't write the laws. Personally, I think Ray McGovern should have stayed there. I think free speech should be allowed everywhere, and they shouldn't have laws that require they go in to take them out. But you got to ask the question, who's writing the laws that make the police violence? Who's writing the laws that are forcing the police go and remove them from telling their congressmen who work for them that this person is bloody and that she shouldn't be there? It's the politicians. But we never blame them. We never blame the laws that make the police violent. We always blame the police. We always bite the newspaper, not the mailman. Maybe we need to start resisting against the mailman and stop biting and ripping apart the newspaper. You know, maybe we need to go to the root, and maybe that's where problems get fixed. And so to me, it's insanity that we live in a time where a grown man would tackle an 80-year-old man to the ground for any damn thing, anything. It's like those videos. You remember when the gang, I forgot what city it was here in America, you guys, where the gang, what were they doing? They were attacking the elderly. They would run up to the elderly and they'd hit them as hard as they could and they'd rob them. And they filmed the whole thing. Like it was I guess it was a thing. It was funny, or gang initiation or whatever, where they would beat up senior citizens and steal what they have. I don't see any difference in what the Capitol Police did to Ray than what just happened, right? For a mortgage, for income, they went and they tackled the man to the ground and arrested him. The only difference is what they're doing was legislatively legal, and what the gangs were doing wasn't. It's the only difference. And we have to determine we have to accept the sickness in that. And this is why I'm saying the sickness. Don't fall in line with the whole blue lives matter. Yeah, they do. But that's not what that's about. It's about whether or not strong, trained men with guns, tasers, and equipment have to tackle an 80-year-old man to the ground to get him out. If they're smart enough to talk to him and walk him out. And so it's not about Israelis and Palestinians. It's about, should thugs with high-powered rifles, tanks, jets, and drones be murdering children? That's what that's about. We can talk politics. We can talk about the politics of the two-state thing later. That has nothing to do with today. That's why I'm asking, don't join a side. There is no side in murder. It's just murder. It can be legislated. It can be legal. It can be written up by America, the congressmen, the felons who make everybody else felons. Murder one person, it's a felony. But they can murder millions, and it's okay. And you'll keep cheering for them. You know, don't join a side. Let me see. Let me get down some of the lower comments. You can tell the Democrats don't care about Bernie, no security. Yeah, Ellen, they don't care about Bernie. They don't care about Bernie's message. Bernie had a job to do. He did his job, I think, too well, and he woke up too many people. And I hope we're witnessing the end of the Democratic Party like the Republican Party. Hopefully we're noticing the end of some of this tribal trend that we've been stuck in for a couple hundred years, and going to a wiser day of us standing up on ethics and morals and what's right, and no longer standing on who has on a blue jersey, you know, whose mascot is a redskin or a cowboy. Our issues are significantly different than that. You know, we have significant issues that we need to fix in this world to go into the next paradigm, because we don't have a whole lot of time, right? Was it Putin, one of the ones who said whoever rules AI rules the world? He's not lying. He's right. The whole world is technologically advanced. Once they put AI and cars and robots and the internet and software on every single laptop and desktop, whichever country, whichever psychotic psychopath that runs a big corporation that we all want to keep in power, whoever figures it out first, they'll run the world, because you're not going to outthink AI. And that was, I'm going to say it was Elon Musk's point, is that, you know, the human brain, it's just, we can't think fast enough. We don't have the ability to process at the speed that the software can. It can write viruses and deploy them across the internet. And by the time we actually see the virus affecting a laptop, it's already created 22,000 variant viruses that are attacking other laptops, right? You can't, the human brain can't combat with that. And he's talking about we need cyborg type people that can interface with our brains to actually combat that. You know, we're coming into highly dangerous times. Now is not a time to get behind any group because it's a group and accept the little evil that they have in their group. What if we stop giving them our time, our money, our energy? Yes, Jasmine, we do. We have to stop giving them our time. We got to stop listening. We got to stop taking them seriously. We got to stop working for them. We got to stop giving them our energy, our negative energy that gets us to turn on someone else because they give us a talking point that kind of sounds like it might make sense, but it actually doesn't because we didn't speak to the other person. You know, we got to stop taking them seriously. That's why I laugh at them all the time. I laugh at psychopaths because they're not serious. Like, really? Like, Israel has a right to defend himself? Really? Seriously? Like, you're defending yourself against a defenseless 16-year-old kid that's walking towards a fence that you just murdered and shot in the forehead. That's defense. That is psychopathic. That is no different than Jeffrey Dahmer. That's no different than any mass murderer that's ever been here. The only difference is Jeffrey Dahmer only killed 8 people. How many has the Zionists killed? Right? That's what you got to think. You got to think a little deeper. Be the lioness. Don't be the, I don't say the dumb lion, but be the lioness. That's what we got to do. Brother Paul, any one of us at any time can take to the streets to protest war and oppression, and we need to keep doing this until we get everyone on board to change things. Yes, Paul, and at a certain point, that's the only thing that's going to change things is people standing up together. You know, if you do have the ability and you do hear about a protest and it's anti-war, your first question isn't, well, who's going to be there? Is the left going to be there? Is the right going to be there? That's not an intelligent question. The question is, are they opposing war? Okay, so priority, don't murder people. That's the priority. I'm going to go stand for that because I don't want you murdering people. And then we can talk about healthcare later. We can talk about all the other silly stuff later. Like, it doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right. It just matters that, are you a human being? Are you okay with the murder of people? That's all it is. That's the only real question. But you got to really question that within your own heart. Let me see. Brother Chris, welcome. Good morning. Better late than never. Yeah, well, welcome. But yeah, and better late than never. It's better people wake up than them not wake up. And when we offend them, they don't wake up. When we offend them, we make them worse. When we offend them, we push them further into support for these tribalistic groups. The campaign finance can be printed out of thin air. Exactly, Christine. And these are the depths of the problems that we have. You know, how campaign financing and pulling big money out of government. You know, one of the silly things I hear is like people are like, we got to pull the big money out of government. We got to pull the big money. Did you go to work today? Oh, yeah. What'd you do with that money? Did you buy a new iPhone? Did you buy some new shoes? Did you buy a new shirt? Where do you think all that money goes? Oh, went to a corporation? Huh? And who buys the politicians? The corporations, right? And that's why I want to take big money out of politics. And that's why I spend as little money as possible, because I know what the corporations do with that money. They buy politicians so they can force me to spend more of my money with them. And they take over the government. And this is, you know, consumerism. It's it's just a deep, deep rabbit hole. And you just get to the bottom, the root cause of the problem. Okay, if you don't want big money in politics, then that's not hiring a politician to take big money out of politics. That's not a vote. It's you no longer spending money with the people who actually bought the politicians, the people who put the big money in there, and the people who will buy the politician. The minute you get him in office, we got Bobby, and get him in office. And the minute he's in office, that corporation says, listen, here's a check for $200,000. This will keep you in office for the next 3 terms. Bobby, is going to turn on you, because that's the allyship. It's about greed and power. And if not, we'll give the money to your opponent, and this will be your last term. You'll never get the job done. And they'll just start doing that political deal thing. We got to be smarter than that. We absolutely got to be smarter than that. Let me go to the bottom. Last couple comments, I'm gonna go. But this is what I'm thinking about. Watching everybody's posts and watching the live stream, watching the alternative media. We have to start resisting. Our family all over the world is resisting. The kids are standing up. It's high time in the West that we start to stand up, but it's high time we start to play chess and stop playing checkers with this. Let me see. Lisa said, Chris got to pull them out of public education. Yeah, public education is a problem. Again, they make automatons. That's where they make the drones. They send the kids in and they pledge allegiance and America the beautiful, America the great. We don't murder people. We just stand for freedom. And maybe that was the model. And one time we did. But right now we are the bad guys. And we got to swallow that pill. And we got to swallow that red pill. And we got to wake the hell up. Now is not the time. Nobody cares about the little silly debates on the bottom. This is about, are we going to continue to march down this road, handing our world to corporations that our kids will not be able to pull back? Are we going to march down this road of starting this war with Iran that we won't be able to pull back? And I think it's a bad idea. That's me. I think it's a bad idea. I don't think it ends well. I think, all right, I'm going to end on some stuff. I plant seeds all the time, y'all. Listen, I got all kind of fruit trees I'm planting. Every time I see one of my friends post in one of these little tribal groups, they post, Israel has the right to defend themselves. I'm planting some seeds. We got to rally with our base on the left. I'm planting some seeds, because I pay attention to the climate. I'll talk some really positive stuff, but I'm also watching. And the more ignorant things people say, the more they don't want to break this stuff apart. This whole thing is going to collapse one way or another. Tough times are coming. Either we're going to be prepared for those tough times or we're not. They're going to hurt real bad because we don't get it, or it's not going to hurt as much. Every time I sit down and watch my friends who don't get it. Oh, they're like, oh, we got to get Bernie in. I'm like, oh, damn, I got to buy another tray of tomatoes. Oh, man, I got to plant. Did I plant the cucumbers? Are they in the ground? Okay. How they do? Are they good? Are they looking good? I got little bugs on them. Okay. I need to get some. Because talk about positive things. Always hope on the good side, right? Always hope on good things happening. But be prepared for people not to wake up. Be prepared. If you live in another country, and, my request to you is reach out to Americans that actually don't vote, that don't get it. The biggest voting bloc in our country, in which we don't have a government, we don't own our own military, are the people who actually don't vote. You need to send them pictures of kids in Yemen. You need to send them pictures of kids in Gaza. You need to send them pictures of slavery. This is still slavery in Libya. You need to send them pictures and say, you need to vote, because this is what your government is doing to our world. And I don't know vote's the right word. I think it's more of a support thing. You need to get involved because your problems are infecting the rest of the world. And that's really what's happening. America has a case of herpes. America has a case of the military-industrial STD. The military-industrial stupid transmitted disease. And we're infecting the whole world. We're just... I just had some thoughts. I'm not going to say it. But we are infecting the world with madness. We are destabilizing the world because it's profitable. And nothing is ever changing, president to president, administration to administration, because of ego. And we got to drop the ego. That's really what it comes down to. We are destroying this planet on ego because we're in these tribalistic groups. Now's the time to start resisting. However you resist, that's on you. That's up to you. Might be through your garden, might be through comments, might be through going to protests, might be chaining yourself to something. It might be going to a hearing and speaking up. But now is the time for people to start peacefully resisting. Now is the time to start shaming Your neighbor who just bought the new truck, bought the big ignorant house that they couldn't possibly fill. Now is the time to really start speaking up, to bring an end to the sickness in the world. They're speaking up in Gaza. And if 14-year-olds can walk into Israeli sniper fire and be willing to give up their lives for their neighbors and their family, and we can't even go to a protest. We can't even defend someone who speaks up. We still want to attack people because we disagree with them on 2% of what they talk about. That's why I got seeds. That's all I'm going to say. That's why I got seeds, because I plan on making it through whatever the hell comes. And maybe I'll make it through, maybe I won't. I'm not as passive as I pretend to be. That's another thing I'll let y'all know. It's just right now is the time for talking. Right now is the time for dialogue. Right now is the time for breaking down the lines. It's not a time for the warrior. It's not a time for that type of warrior yet. But when it's time for that type of warrior, I'm good to go. I'm qualified on the AK. I can take care of myself. I go to the range when I need to. But it's not a time for that. We can bring this down peacefully, right? Every major conflict in the world has always been fought violently. Haven't we finally evolved past that? That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping we finally evolve past a violent conflict. We have an internet and we can see everything that's coming. We can talk to everybody that's affected by it, and we can derail this train before it lands of where it's going. But it means you got to put your ego away. So anyway, listen, you guys, happy Monday. This is Gerard. I got to get back to business. Y'all have a wonderful day. Love y'all to death.